Hey friends, and welcome back to my kitchen. It's dinner time and we are making slow cooker stuffed pepper soup. Let's get started. It's so good. So I love freezing ground beef. I'll freeze it in 1.5 or 1 pound portions. I lay it flat. Then I could just pop it in the fridge and it defrosts really quick. So what I'm doing is browning this beef in the skillet, and I use a little avocado oil. While I'm browning that, I'm also cutting up my vegetables. So I diced 1 medium onion, and then I'm going to actually add that into the pan. But first we're going to add some granulated garlic, some kosher salt, and some pepper. You could add whatever seasonings you prefer. Then we're going to add that onion into the skillet so we can get some caramelization. I'm not going to add the peppers because I feel like they don't need that, but I do think that onion really needs that to release a lot more flavor. Then we're going to cut up peppers. I'm using 3 bell peppers. I'm using green, and then I'm also using a red for sweetness, and then also an orange. You could do all green, you could do all red, and you could do whichever color you prefer. If you have purple peppers in the summer, you could even use those. So we're just going to cut those up, and then make sure you're using a sharp knife. I actually had to switch out my knife because I found that my other one was just a little too dull. So I swapped out because I just, obviously needed a little bit more sharpness. So always make sure you're using a knife that can cut through things. Then I like to just wipe down my counter really quickly because it just gets a little dirty. And then once that's done, we're going to transfer the ground beef to our slow cooker. And what I'm doing is just hovering it over. If you can't do this, definitely just transfer it over with a spoon. I'm using an oven glove and I'm not burning my hands because the skillet is going to be hot. And if you wanted, you could also drain this, use some paper towels. I find that this adds just a little bit of flavor and there's not a ton of grease in there. Now we're going to put it into our slow cooker. We're going to take that crock and put it into the crock pot basically. Or you could have done this and had that on the counter, but I just have this on my island. What I'm doing now is adding some petite diced tomatoes. I like petite diced. I find that they have a better mouthfeel. They're not as fibrous. And then I'm going to take that same can, because I actually have to make pizza for my kiddo for a party, and I opened a large can of sauce. So we're going to do 14.5 ounces of canned tomato sauce, as well as 14.5 ounces of the petite diced tomatoes. Then we're going to add in some seasonings. I'm using parsley, which is just dried parsley. Then I'm also using granulated garlic and then some salt. We're also going to add in some beef broth. For the beef broth, I did use Better Than bouillon dissolved in 2 cups of water, but you could use whichever broth you prefer. Then we're just going to mix that up and then place on the lid. We're going to cook this on high for 3 to 4 hours or low for 6 to 8 hours. Now, the reason I did it on high is because we're going to party and we will have food ready for dinner when we get home. And then I also like to use my super cubes for rice for this specific reason, for when we need quick and easy meals. And I just pop this into the fridge and it is ready to put into the slow cooker once I get home. And I literally mean it literally dissolves in seconds almost. So what I do is just leave it in there for a second while I get a spoon and then I mix it up. It probably takes about 5 minutes to get it warmed throughout, but what I like to do is let it get a little bit more absorbed. So once it's done, you can enjoy it, but I like it to swell up and get almost this stew-like consistency. I find that the rice just plumps up beautifully, but if you wanted it to be a little bit looser, you could just eat it before it does that and just cut the heat off. Now, another option is, if you prefer, you could also serve this over rice or even over mashed potatoes. I am definitely a rice girl. Sometimes I'll do quinoa, but rice is my absolute favorite when it comes to stuffed peppers. I feel like all the flavors just go so well together. And my family does enjoy it this way too. If you wanted to not have it this plump, see how it just kind of thickens up, you could also have it to just 1 cup of rice, but this is perfect for us. Our stuffed pepper soup is ready to enjoy. I'm gonna dig in and see how it tastes. So you could eat it right after the rice is warmed up, but I like to let the rice really thicken up, almost like a stew. So let's go in for our first bite. Oh, it's so comforting. I love stuffed peppers, so I love this naturally. It's like an unstuffed pepper. I love that it's so easy to come together. Now, this is freezer safe, but I would not put the rice in it if you're gonna freeze it. But then you can always serve it with rice. You can even leave the rice out if you don't want rice. So good, so good. It's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, and it's super easy to make. I think you guys are gonna love this easy slow cooker recipe for a weeknight dinner, and I will see you guys soon. Bye friends, and thank you so much for watching.